Hey, we're back for another episode of Bad Ideas podcast with Kanika Misra. Hey, Kanika,
Love it.
thanks for coming on and brainstorming with us. Really appreciate you making some time.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Do you mind kind of kicking us off with like 2, 3 minutes about what you do at Beta Beta?
Yeah, absolutely. So at Beta Beta Growth, we make your growth better and better. We are a full service conversion rate optimization agency. We're a small team. We like to be small and mighty. We work with ecom and SaaS, pretty heavily on ecom to be totally honest, but we do SaaS as well. And we help test different elements of sites, different elements of landing pages to help, uncover kind of lost revenue. We focus very heavily on copy, on how it can intersect with design and development and really user experience, to make sure that people aren't confused as they're coming through your funnels and looking at your site and deciding whether it's worth it for them to give you their information or buy your product.
Awesome. So you spend a lot of the day figuring out like using data if people are going to buy something.
Yeah, absolutely. So we use a mix of more quantitative data as well as qualitative data. So understanding kind of what are the metrics that surround user behavior, how much time are they spending, how often are they actually maybe adding to cart or downloading, which pages are they looking at, that kind of thing. And then we mix that together with qualitative data, which is sort of layering on top tons of hours of video recordings. That's a big part of our process to really fill in the gaps between the numbers, as well as click maps, heat maps, just to see what are people doing that might be confusing? What are they doing that's really helping their behavior and their journeys through your site or your product? And how can we make it even better so that it's a no-brainer decision for them to sign up or purchase?
Well, super grateful to have you here. I'm sure the experience will play really well into what we're about to do. So to quickly recap the process, we have a really awful business idea that we're going to look at in a minute. We'll spend 3 or 4 minutes talking about why it's the most terrible business idea ever. Channel your inner Simon Cowell if you'd be up for it. And then after that, we'll try to spin it into a real business idea. And I think your experience will be amazing because you've seen a lot of different things, how they've sold, how they were appealed. And I think some of the influence from that work will hopefully help bleed into us turning something bad into something good. All right.
Great.
You ready? So here is the bad idea. So this is homeless tours. You pay a fee to experience a city as a homeless person. And the note I have is it's based on Mike Momany's company. That's Momany. I think this is a real company. My understanding is you pay a fee to experience a city as a homeless person. Is that what you understand?
Terrible. This is awful. They should quit right now.
Yeah.
That's my Simon Cowell
Yeah.
impression.
That's good.
No, I understand it the same way. That seems absolutely insane. So it's not going around and getting shown the city by a homeless person. It's paying to be a homeless person and experience the city that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine, again, there's no details here, but I imagine this is like you pay a fee and then you get told where to go be a homeless person and they just kind of keep an eye on you or something for a couple of days. It's like
I guess
experiencing.
it helps if they're keeping an eye on you a little bit, but does it take away from the experience? Is it an inauthentic experience then? Um,
Yeah.
just like gross. I don't know. I don't know what kind of person. Like if you had to define the target audience for something like that, how exactly would you do that? Because what kind of person would want to be homeless in a random city? Yeah, I don't know.
Let alone like pay for it, right? You can kind
Right.
of do it for free. I think that's the main reason why this is a horrible idea. Like, you pay a fee to do it through the service, but you could just go there like with no plans. So
It's very true. So maybe the payment is basically a security guard.
yeah. And this is
Seems
like
all
showing ice to an Eskimo, literally, because the Eskimo already has ice. Like, but by default, we can all be homeless in a second if we wanted to.
It's
Uh,
very true. So this is a real business that exists.
I have a note in here. I'll have to do some research. Maybe we'll add like footnotes to the end of this. But All I have is the idea, for our sake. So it'd be interesting to see if our brainstorm produces anything that the real company did. But one, I don't think you can get people to pay you not to have a house. People pay a lot of money to have a house. So getting money for the reverse seems counterintuitive. Two, anyone could be a homeless person by simply going to a city and following the homeless population around. So there's really like no value given to this. Three, when people travel or they want to experience a tour, they don't want to do it in like the most uncomfortable, unhospitable way.
But
You know?
also, what's the difference? For somebody who is freshly homeless, right? If they were homeless for 1 or 2 days and they're just walking around looking at the city, they could look like a normal person. And they're essentially doing exactly the same thing as a non-homeless person is doing. So what exactly is the experience that they're getting if they're just paying to be homeless, but it literally changes nothing as their experience in the city?
Yeah. I'm wondering if the intention was just the peace of mind. It was like, because you've paid this fee to this company, you have a safety net. So you can go and be homeless. And if anything goes horribly wrong, they'll take care of you. Like,
Maybe, but then it also seems like the company should better be doing background checks and deep history checks on the people that are signing up for this. Because what if I had a history of being a crackhead and then I just like got into crazy stuff as soon as I got into this homeless environment, and I met the wrong people, and then my life just spun out of control, and it's because I signed up for this homeless experience.
yeah. All right. So keeping a list, I'm looking up to think. There's nothing in front of me. But to keep a list, so we have, there's no reason to buy it because anyone can be homeless by default. There's really no value in paying to do this from a company, again, because anyone can just be homeless by default. Um, there's risk in execution, as you just said, because you're selling it to people who could have major issues like alcoholism or drug abuse that could spiral out of control, and you're liable for that. What about from like a marketing or more in your realm conversion rate perspective? Like, is it possible to promote something like that?
Well, that's what I mean. Is like, first of all, like putting on my previous like media buying hat and just looking at the content. Like, what would the ads look like for this? I mean, you know what? To be honest, I bet they could make it interesting in a way, right? Like, it's almost like, hey, understand another perspective or learn stories that you would never even imagine. Or they could make it a really adventurous, interesting thing, I think, as like a hook. Um, but then, then putting back on conversion rate, it's like maybe they go to a landing page, right? So they were able to have a compelling Facebook ad. Maybe it's a video and it's showing all these incredible stories of various homeless people. Um, kind of giving the assumption that a lot of them are maybe more noble than what probably there's a very big percentage that are maybe less noble or less mentally with it. Uh, so maybe they set up the scene as being a situation where they're just going to learn a lot of like hard life lessons and meet a lot of inspiring people. And then if people click through an ad and they get on a landing page, they want to know the details before they convert, right? Like you gotta give them more solid info because they're going to pay.
Oh, you expect
So,
them to.
so then on that landing page, you're going to be saying like, you got to give them the details, and those details seem horrible, right? Like, where are you going to on the ground, and how much does it cost? Oh, it costs real money. And like, oh, can you shower? No. And like, oh, are you guaranteed to meet the amazing people that I just saw in the ad? Definitely not. Results may vary. It just seems impossible to actually get that conversion.
Yeah. Well, you just gave me target points for turning it into something real. So with your permission, maybe we pivot to the brainstorming part of this.
Sounds good.
All right. So we've established this is a heinous idea, and now we have to make it into something real that people want to be a part of. Well, just to borrow from what you just walked through on the landing page, like if you have a list of all the places you're going to go and the things you're going to experience and where you're going to sleep, and like you can kind of see the experience as more of a plan or more of a tour. Maybe homeless is more of like a brand than like an actual state of existence. So people are paying to have this it's like urban camping experience where like there's a coordinated, process that they're allowed to go through. But, you were talking about benefits, like things they get to see, people, they get to meet and experience, like things like, experiencing the sunrise from some public space that's kind of rare or hard to get to. So like, in your sense, would the landing page have like a map of where they're going to go and like what their journey is going to look like if they pay? Or
Yeah,
what do you?
I think it's a really good idea. You you know how I could make what I go to in my brain that could actually make this worth money is the show Westworld. So
Yeah.
so instead of being put into this, this alternate universe where everyone's a robot and you can do whatever you want and, live
Hmm.
your life and there's no repercussion, you do the same thing, but it's a homeless world. And then you can still do whatever you want. And that is worth probably a lot of money to people. Because the same thing with Westworld. For people who didn't watch Westworld, it's set up in the future, right? I guess Nick, correct me if I'm wrong. It's kind of set up in the future, and they have this world that's sort of like an amusement park where people can go to it, and there's all these like AI robots and replicas of humans, I guess. And then
Mhm.
people can do whatever they want with so they can like punch a person, they could shoot a person, they could become friends with a person, they could fall in love with a person, they could do whatever they wanted with these people and just like live an alternate world in this like old Western. And so could you do this? And could it be as appealing in a homeless world?
So your implication is we need to make a bunch of AI homeless people and then sell
No,
access for people.
we have to train them into an amusement park. And in that amusement park, we have created a set that looks like a city. And then
Okay.
we create, yeah, AI homeless people. So they know that they'll
So
never actually get truly hurt and it's a fully controlled environment.
interesting. All right. So the fee is for the controlled environment, but just to make sure I heard that correctly, we were taking homeless tours and making a homeless amusement park. No, is
Yeah,
that what's happening?
that's exactly what's happening.
Okay.
This feels sick to me in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a little so unpack that a little bit. So we're creating a homeless amusement park where people they basically pay to live and experience like a free for all park, um, where you have actors that act like homeless people that also live in the park with you, and you
I
get to
feel like that's
interact
more
with
best. Okay, let's strike that. I would say if we do the amusement park route, then we actually hire homeless people, and the homeless people would then get money for food, right? So then it can turn into like more of a noble thing. But then they can show these people around and kind of, give them a taste of. I almost feel like this needs to be like 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 those sleepaway camps that you see in the movies that when kids act really bad, their parents like threaten to send them off to camp. And oftentimes like
yeah.
it's like a military camp, but like this could be like a detention center type of camp that really, really affluent parents who have like stuck up bratty kids, they send those kids to this amusement park that's staffed by homeless people. And those homeless people show them what it's like to live homelessly. I guess
Interesting.
you don't even need the amusement park at that point. Just, plop them in a city, but same thing. We actually staff the homeless people.
A guided homeless experience as a correctional camp for
Yeah.
troubled youth. That's interesting. I really like the thought about how you could potentially offer employment to homeless people. I think there's something huge there. I think particularly now, coming out of the pandemic, there's a lot more homeless people, I think, in general than there were previously. Um, and I don't think we do nearly enough to take care of them. So maybe that becomes kind of a major business opportunity if you can find a way. Now, again, without forced coercion, because I think it's true, right? Forgive me if this is totally inaccurate, but most homeless people choose to live that way, correct? Like the majority mentally feel like they need to be on their own.
I don't know that. I guess I'd be surprised to learn if that's accurate, but maybe. Sure.
Well, Yeah. Yeah. Forgive me if this is totally inaccurate, but my understanding was, um, people choose the lifestyle. Again, certain people are thrown out of their home, and that's a totally different scenario. But um, for folks who like may not be able to hold a job or maintain a house or have family to support them who wind up in a homeless situation, um, kind of creating an avenue for them to earn an income that they can use it whenever they want, to help deliver an experience to other people who value that experience, could be a really, really interesting thing. Uh, so, coming back to the original idea of like the homeless tour, like imagine if your guide was somebody who had lived there, by night, and it was a totally optional open door thing, but that's your first or second stage of the journey as you come in, and your guide comes and shows you the ropes for an hour or two about
Yeah.
how they live, where they go, what stops they make. And
No, I think that's a good business idea in itself. When you first revealed the bad idea, before
yeah,
you get to the second sentence, it actually sounds like a solid idea. It's just like homeless tours with around a city, right?
mm,
So people who are homeless, they give you the tour. Um, Once you add the experience it and sleep overnight and pay for it, that's when it gets a little shaky. But if it's like an hour, a 60-minute walking tour, and they take you around and they show you all like the hidden gems that,
mhm,
tourists aren't going to know, and probably even locals don't know because they've
yeah,
never seen X, Y, and Z because they live in a home and they don't pay attention to what's happening, on this side street or what's going on under this bridge. Maybe there's some crazy fun stuff there. Uh,
just
or even just individuals, right? Like, oh, old Ed has lived here for,
old, old.
15 years and he knows X, Y, and Z, and he knows the weather just by looking up in the sky and clapping twice. It comes to his brain. I don't know.
There we go.
But there's probably some characters that homeless people know and friends that they have, and just, you know, experiences that they can share that I think would be I might sign up for something like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's more interesting, and I like the altruistic nature of it. But I think what you're doing is you're combining that desire for unique experience, with an abundant supply, of information and talent. And I think the big challenge, whereas before we were trying to convince people to pay us to do something they could do for free, uh, now we're kind of packaging something and making it available to people who really have no other option. And we're taking, people who don't really have another option and giving them something, again, at their will, at their choice, they can participate in that could be fairly high value. I think, people
100%.
looking for a new perspective, people love New York. Imagine if they could see the other side of it, or get a completely new perspective of the city they liked for a phenomenal fee that was astronomical in increase to the homeless population. That's interesting.
Yeah, and that fee can go towards, getting these people who are the tour guides food and healthcare and just like making them more comfortable. It might not be something that buys them a home, for example, right? Like that fee might be supply and demand, might not support that type of fee. But maybe it does in the future, right? If there's just a few people, or it turns into more of like a community pot, right? Where, every ticket costs $35 and everything that comes into it goes towards, helping all of the people in this community, all the homeless people in this community, giving them food, buying bulk food, getting bulk healthcare or like first aid at least, um, that kind of thing. And then, I think there's a very transient nature to homelessness. And if it was more of a community thing, then you wouldn't necessarily be relying on, you know, the same person or the same people, Timmy, Luke, and Morgan every week. You know that Timmy, Luke, and Morgan probably might be around for a couple weeks, but they might not ever come back again. Right. But if it's more of a community thing, everyone's aware, everyone knows that it can happen. You'll probably get a few regulars who maybe they do prefer to live life in urban camping. Um, but they can pop in and give some tours as they want and go do their thing. And then there'll be other people who maybe they just do it once or twice as they're passing through, or as they remember, or as they feel like it. And that's it.
I think that's a really nice spin. And I think we took something that was kind of bogus and didn't really make any sense. I don't know if you've come up with a bangering business idea. Like, I think we've come up with something that could do some good, and a way to attach like human demand for experience with, human demand for greater purpose. And I think like, yeah, it's a fairly low ask, like asking, someone who may be homeless to show some people around. It might elevate them, make them feel a little important and feel valued for what they know. And that could really do some good. So maybe it's not the best business idea now, but it could be a good business.
You could turn it into one, right? Like I think part of that fee, besides feeding them and helping them get, first aid and everything else that they need, is it'd probably be smart of us to at least do some sort of background check on the people that are taking around groups of people that we sign up. So some of those fees would go towards just kind of logistics like that. But I do think there'd also be, there's opportunity for partnerships, right? Like I'm sure that there are e-commerce companies that would want to get in front of maybe not the homeless population, but the people who are going on these tours. Like there is going to be a set shared of interests and beliefs about themselves or the world or needs or wants that everyone who signs up for this kind of thing is going to have. And there's going to be a ton of brands or a ton of platforms that want to get in front of those types of people. So I think there is opportunity for it not being only a nonprofit type of thing. I think it can be a for-profit, for good type of company. You just gotta figure out how to put those pieces together, right? Is it like affiliate? Is it, advertising? Who knows?
Awesome. I appreciate the brainstorm. I appreciate the insight. Hopefully the idea wasn't too ridiculous for you.
No, I like it. I'm ready to sign up. Somebody started.
All right, we'll make it happen. Thank you so much for giving us some time. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me.